Have you ever stopped to think about what's really going on inside those investing apps on your phone? Today, we're pulling back the curtain on a hidden force that's quietly reshaping how millions of us handle our money: artificial intelligence. It's everywhere, and it's already shaping the future of your wallet. Let's dive in. To get a sense of just how big this is, look at this number: 6.1 trillion rupees. Just let that sink in for a second. That is the staggering amount of money that domestic institutions pumped into the Indian stock market in just one financial year. We're talking about a massive wave of capital, bigger than ever before. But all that money flying around creates a lot of anxiety, right? And this comment from a user on Reddit, it really hits the nail on the head. It captures that feeling a lot of us have. The market feels different, more complex. How do you know when to jump in? And maybe even more importantly, how do you know when to get out? And this isn't some niche concern. It affects an incredible number of people. Just look at the sheer explosion of new investors. The number of Demat accounts in India has more than doubled in just a few short years. We're seeing millions upon millions of people jumping into this world, many for the first time, right from their smartphones. And that brings us right to the heart of the matter today. Because behind those slick, user-friendly apps, there's this hidden layer of influence making decisions at a speed we can't even comprehend. And that layer is run by algorithms. So it makes you wonder, right? What's really in the driver's seat when you tap that buy button? Is it just your own research and gut feeling? Or is there something else humming away in the background? It's helpful to think of it as two totally different ways of thinking. On one side, you've got us, the human investors. We're driven by research, sure, but also by headlines, by fear, by excitement, by our gut. Then you've got the algorithm. It runs on a completely different operating system, just cold, hard data, strict rules, and statistical probabilities. It doesn't get greedy, it doesn't panic, it just follows its programming. But here's the kicker: that programming isn't always perfect. Algorithms can have biases built right into them. We call it algorithmic bias. It's basically a glitch in the system that consistently leads to unfair results. It's not usually some evil plan. It's often just a blind spot in the data the AI learned from, or a flaw in the rules that was given. And this is a perfect example to make it real. Way back in the 80s, American Airlines built this system to help people find flights. Seemed great, right? An impartial computer finding you the best deal. Except it wasn't impartial. It was programmed to secretly boost its own flights, even if they were more expensive or less convenient. The algorithm had a hidden agenda. Now just imagine that same kind of hidden thumb on the scale with your life savings. That exact fear is what's pushing researchers right now. They're trying to figure out how to build better, smarter, and most importantly, safer AI for the world of finance. How do you make an algorithm fluent in money without accidentally teaching it these bad habits? Well, one of the key ideas is something called symbolic AI. The easiest way to think about this is that instead of just letting an AI learn by looking at a billion data points, you actually give it a rulebook. You explicitly teach it fundamental concepts of logic, so it has a framework to guide its decisions. Another incredibly important piece of the puzzle is uncertainty quantification. This is all about teaching the AI to know what it doesn't know. So instead of just spitting out an answer, it can also tell you how confident it is. And if that confidence is low, it can basically raise its hand and say, you know what, I'm not sure about this one. That's a huge safety feature when real money is at stake. So you can see the path taking shape. It's a really methodical process. First, you find the flaws in the current systems. Then, you bake in that logical rulebook. After that, you teach it to measure its own confidence. And finally, you test the heck out of it against industry benchmarks to make sure it's actually smarter and safer than what came before. And the results? Well, they can be absolutely mind-blowing. In one test, researchers took a powerful AI and integrated this kind of logic programming. They then put it through a really tough reasoning test. The outcome? It scored 99.99% accuracy. That's pretty much perfect. It shows that when you combine the raw power of modern AI with these structured rules, you get something incredibly precise. But with all this incredible power, we're left with this fundamental tension, right? You've got the massive promise of what this technology can do for us versus the very real peril of what happens when it goes wrong. And the peril isn't just a theory. We've seen these hidden biases cause real-world harm in other fields. Things like fintech lending models that show the potential for discrimination, a medical algorithm that actually recommended less care for sicker Black patients, facial recognition that was far less accurate for women and people of color. The stakes in finance are every bit as high. But then there's the promise, which is just as powerful. This technology is kicking down doors. Just look at this data. The slice of mutual fund investments coming from smaller cities, the so-called beyond 30 cities, is actually growing. Technology is breaking down old barriers, giving more people than ever before a shot at building wealth. And that's really the bottom line here. Things like robo-advisors and fintech apps are putting sophisticated financial tools, the kind that used to be reserved for the super rich, into the hands of pretty much anyone with a smartphone. That's not just an upgrade, that's a revolution. So that brings us to the final critical question. If this powerful tech is becoming this common, how do we manage it? How do we build the digital guardrails to keep everyone safe? The approach really comes from two sides. On the technical side, people are building explainable AI, so we can actually peer inside the black box and see why a decision was made. They're also doing AI audits to actively hunt for bias. Then, on the human side, you have regulators creating these complex rulebooks to enforce fairness and transparency for everyone. Now, I want you to just look at this slide. Don't even try to read the words. This is just a tiny little piece of the official regulations for mutual funds in India. Just feel the density of it. This is what it takes to build those guardrails in the real world. This incredibly complex web of rules, all designed to protect investors in a world that's getting more complicated every single day. Ultimately, after looking at all of this, it all boils down to one simple, crucial idea. We have to remember that AI is a powerful, powerful tool, but it's not a crystal ball. It's not a perfect oracle. It's built by us, it learns from our data, and so it's going to have our flaws. And that leaves us with one final, massive question to chew on. As these algorithms play a bigger and bigger role in our finances, managing more and more of our money, who's on the hook when they get it wrong? Is it the person who wrote the code, the company that used it, the government, or is it you? The answer to that is going to define the future of money for all of us.